everybody, and welcome to today's vlog. So today's vlog is all about how to ride a horse. Now, we are not BHS qualified. I am not a qualified instructor. We just want to share with you the successes and the main points that we've come across while we've been horse owners that really work for us. So we're going to share with you several aspects of what's been really good, what has really worked, and other things as well that really haven't worked at all, just so that you can get an insight. And we'll also do a big meet the herd. So we have got 3 horses at home at the moment. We have got Madge, Baby and Toby. So we're going to do a full meet and greet, an introduction, and then we're going to show you how we ride our horses. If you've got any questions at all, anything like that, do pop them down below in the comment section, and I'll try to get to everyone as and when we can. But again, I am not a qualified instructor. In fact, I think it's been about 5 or 6 years since I've even had a riding lesson. We tend to ride natural horsemanship, not BHS, so any BHS questions I might just struggle a little bit with. But here goes, let's meet the horses. Here we are, let's meet the team. So this beautiful old girl is Madge, and Madge is a Percheron cross cob, and she is 35 years old, and she's a bit gross. She's huge, she's such a massive girl. We'll come back onto her in a minute, but as you can see, she's an old girl who's got a lot of miles under her belt, and we absolutely adore her. Next is Toby. Toby is a Spanish Mustang, and last week he was 13 years old, weren't you, Toby? Now, he is a little bit odd, a little bit strange. With him being a Spanish Mustang, he is semi-feral, so he will act completely different to normal horses, or to what you would class as standardised horses. And just to show you, he also has the curly gene, so his coat is semi-curly, which is really cute. And last but not least of the horses that we have here is Baby Pony. Now, just like Toby, his birthday was last week, only he is now 15. And Baby is the horse, my heart horse really, and we've had him for 11 years now. They are a bit gross because the weather has recently turned and we've had a bit of rain, so we do need to give them a groom. But it's also nice to have them stood up for a while we're doing things, messing with them, so that they can get used to being handled again. So just to give you an insight, we haven't ridden in about 2 months. We unfortunately suffered the loss of a horse that was gifted to William earlier on in the year. She was an ex-racer and she was called Windy. Now, we didn't realise it at the time that she came, but she had got really quite severe internal problems. And being here, obviously we don't have much grass, which is ideal for native breeds, but it just heightened the internal problems that this thoroughbred mare had. She had been a racer as a 3-year-old, but then she'd been a brood mare for 10 years, so she was 13 years old as well. Unfortunately, we had to have her put to sleep just a couple of months ago, so we're still really reeling from that, because she had to be destroyed the day we had professional advice about the fact that she was suffering. So it's been a tough few months, and that's why we haven't really ridden, and today is our first day back in the saddle. So the first thing that I'm going to discuss is hooves. I'm going to show you hooves on Madge, because Madge has notoriously awful feet. Now, it doesn't matter too much on Madge because she's now fully retired, bless her. But the reason that she's got awful feet, especially here, is because it's been the summer. And if you look at the land that we're on, we are on sand. So as soon as water hits this, it drains off. It drains straight away. So the horse's hooves never get really moist for all of the months that are the summer, and that causes the cracking. And unfortunately, all of them have suffered a little bit. Now, we have the horses' hooves done regularly. They are done every 8 weeks. However, unfortunately, again, with us losing Windy, we are about 2 weeks late. They should have been done about 2 weeks ago. However, great news is that the farrier is coming out tomorrow. Unfortunately, again, with it being the summer, we have missed out. Goodbye. we have missed out. He's been on holiday, then we've been on holiday, and so it has been really, really tricky trying to get our diaries together. Now, I know the first thing that you're going to say, well, why don't you use another farrier? Right, big reason why we don't use another farrier. Madge is not only a very, very, very large girl, she also had a very serious injury which only came to light a few weeks ago when we met somebody that used to look after her on her old yard. If you can see all the grey hairs down her legs here, that is actually scar tissue where she once fell backwards out of a box. They're down the inside and outside of both legs. She fell through the jockey door of a horse box while being transported, and unfortunately her legs were cut to ribbons. This side of both legs, both legs were actually degloved, and she had to go through months of intensive therapy. Now, because of that, it is really difficult to pick her back feet up, and she suffers from terrible arthritis, which is the reason that she was retired. The saying no hoof, no horse really does come into play here, because Madge was retired a couple of years ago, not because she's not fit enough and not because she doesn't want to work, but unfortunately her legs and her hooves just can't do it anymore. Now, because of the back history and the fact that she's notoriously awful at picking her feet up, we want to keep the same farrier. I would rather have the horses 2 weeks too late for the farrier than have a stranger come, mishandle them, maybe rag them around a little bit because he's not sure of the back history, whereas our farrier Steve has been seen to these horses, well, since baby was 3 years old, so for the past 11 years, and he knows these horses inside out. So please, no comments about the fact that the feet are too long. We know this, and the farrier is coming out tomorrow. It's purely circumstances, and it never normally happens. But when you've got a precious horse like this, we only want the very best for her, don't we, darling? Right, so that's the hoof situation. What we do every time we ride is we pick the feet out. I'm sure every equestrian knows this and has done this. You've got the frog, which is a triangle in the middle, and then you just gently tease out all of the rubbish that is all on the outside there. Now again, we are on sandland, so this is caked up in a huge pate, so may take a little bit longer to do today. And just so you know as well, for best practice, we are wearing helmets around the horses. It is best practice for any equestrian, anytime you are handling a horse, whether they are tied up and secure or in the field, to wear a helmet. Now, I found this out at my own cost in January 2021, so over 3 years ago now. We had 5 horses at the time in a completely different field, and unfortunately we were in an arena, they were not tied up, they got spooked by the backfire of a vehicle which sent Toby crashing into Madge, and at the time I was picking Madge's feet out and she wasn't wearing a head collar, she wasn't tied up. I spent a long time in hospital, and then after that a month in bed recovering. Now, if we're around the horses, I tend to wear a helmet, and if we're doing anything with the horses, no matter what it is, no matter if it's hand feeding, no matter if it's picking their feet out, if we're doing anything where we're handling them at all, they are all tied up securely on their own posts, because I don't want to get squashed again. It was very unpleasant. Just before we move on from feet, and do excuse us, we haven't poo picked yet today, I want to show what difference is between horses that graze and horses that have a continued supply of food. So we've got 4 acres here, and as you can see, most of the 4 acres is still briars and bush. Here is the pile of hay, and the horses have continued access to hay all year round. There is always a hay bale in different stages. So if you have a horse that is constantly walking over 4 acres, especially sand, they're keeping their hooves down. They're walking, they're constantly on the move. Our horses aren't doing that, so their feet do grow much quicker, even though they're barefoot. We have this here they only stand here. They don't really move around the field. Another really important factor is that where we used to have our field, we used to hack out and about on the roads. Here, this is a main road, and over there, if you can see behind me, is the A1. So that is a motorway. Traffic comes off the A1 straight onto this road. It can be Arctic vehicles, it can be motorbikes. It is an exceptionally busy road, and for that reason, as you can see by the cars going past now, we don't ride on there. So it's not like we're ever hitting any tarmac. If we want to take the horses out for a hack, we have to get the horse trailer and we have to move them from this location to another location to remain safe. So that is why our horses' hooves grow much quicker. Even though they are native breeds, they're just not getting the walking in that would keep the hooves down. So I think that's a really important point to get across. The more you do with your horse, the less likely you are to need a farrier. Toby's feet now. Toby has got exceptionally good hard feet. He's really good. He will stand there all day to have his feet done. He's very well behaved, aren't you, darling? And you do love a groom. It's a bit special. He'll have a groom all day long, and which is what I'm going to do next. The main piece of kit that we use is a bridle. Now ours are very stripped back versions of a bridle. Now we first went to our trainer, our natural horsemanship trainer, in 2019, and his name is Guy Robertson. And at the time I was riding Baby and William was riding his old horse Beau. And Guy turned to me and he said, "So why are you riding in a martingale and why are you riding with a noseband?" And my honest answer was, well, the bridle came with the noseband, and because I broke Baby in myself, I wasn't using the martingale as a martingale, I was using the martingale as a neck strap. So within 5 minutes he'd taken them both off and he said, "You know what? If you need them back, I'll give them you back. But if you don't need them, with the amount of riding that you do, we're not competition riders, we're only happy hackers, and we go to trail clinics and things like that, and obstacle clinics." He says, "If you need them, you can have them back." And you know what? We never have needed them, so they have stayed off. So all Baby is in is a traditional padded head collar, brow band, a normal hunter bridle, and an Egbert snaffle, and that is it. Now let us show you the saddle, because Baby's saddle is super spectacular. Now he has this enormous foam saddle pad which has seen better days, but it was a very kind gift from Guy Robertson, who is our trainer. And this is because Baby and William don't do any sporting kind of riding. Again, they just do trail riding, they do obstacle clinics, and they don't do anything that they would need an actual structured tree saddle for. So for the comfort of both the horse and rider, William has got a completely treeless Western style bareback Navajo. So this is purely material with some lovely sheepskin underneath it. There is no wooden tree in that saddle whatsoever. So this horse and rider get the most comfort that they possibly can do, and it is not hard for them. There is a little bit of an edge up here, so William's not sat directly on the spine. If you can see under there, William is not sat directly on Baby's spine. But with this inch thick padding here, Baby hardly notices that he's got William on his back. Now Toby's is a little bit different, and I'll get onto that in a second. First of all, I'll explain why the swap. So we believe religiously in the 20% rule. If you weigh more than 20% of the horse's weight, you should not ride that horse. So taking the weight ethics into consideration, for the past couple of years, William has ridden Baby, that's my horse, and I have ridden Toby, which is William's horse. That's because purely we keep within the weight restrictions to make it kinder for the horses. But Toby is actually William's and Baby is actually mine, so I wanted to get that out the way first. But the next bit, I'm going to put the camera on top of my helmet because I'm going to tack up Toby. And anyone that's tried to tack up Toby knows exactly how easy this can be or incredibly difficult, because there are times he will stand there beautifully and there are other times where he does the exact opposite. So fingers crossed. Let's hope that he gives us a good time today, because he can be an absolute nightmare of a pony when he chooses to be. Let's get this done. So we always have to treat Toby as if he's going to be naughty, because 9 out of 10 times he is. But then other times he's an absolute sweetheart. Good boy. And today, luckily, he's not being too bad. So with him, that's it. If you pop your thumbs into the corner of his mouth, it just encourages him to open his mouth. Now, Toby is very strong with his head. So if he didn't want to be ridden today, for whatever reason, he would shake his head and literally hit you with it like he was ramming you. We have worked loads and loads and loads on his manners, again, all with the help of Guy Robertson, and he has become a fantastic riding pony. So let me talk you through his bridle. His is, again, a bog standard Hunter, plain black leather. He also has an Egbert snaffle, but Toby was never bitted. We bitted him about 5 years ago when we bought him, and so he's got a sweet bit which just helps him to get on with it that bit better, isn't it, darling? And thank you for being a good boy. One thing else that we will explain is that with the trail riding that we do, and also the obstacle clinics, we can be on and off quite a bit while we're riding. So we always leave the head collars on underneath. When we're riding, these do absolutely nothing. We tie this around the neck here so that if we get off, we can stand there holding them and we're not pulling on their face for whatever reason. So that is Toby's bridle, and I'm very pleased he was a good boy, because when he's a bad boy, he's a horrible monster. Aren't you? You're a horrible monster. He is equally awful with his saddle, but sooner than take you out with his head, he takes you out with his back end, like that. Luckily he went the opposite way there. Good boy, good boy, lots of reassuring. If he doesn't want the saddle on, or if he doesn't want the bridle on, he absolutely lets you know. Now, this saddle is completely different from the saddle that baby is wearing. This is a synthetic, which means it's not got leather on it. It's got little patches of leather, but only little patches of it. It is a Thorogood general purpose. So it is an English saddle, because I don't know how to ride Western. And this is fantastic because it does have a light tree in it. It's a very, very, very light saddle. I also use a seat saver because I'm old and I need one. And also, just to let you know, when it comes to doing up the girth, we have a 3-phase process. So while they're just stood still, if the summer holidays will allow me to get the girth on, we've just put it up to the first hole. Oh, Toby's had a very good summer. All that hay. So we'll use the 2 end ones there. Lovely. And then as we're going around and walking, we'll take it up another notch or 2. And then as we get on, we'll make sure it's tight enough to not kill us. What can happen, lift up, is that the girth can pinch. So we always lift the legs up as well, lift the feet up, just to make sure that there is no pinching. Now, we don't leave Madge out of this. She will get a groom as well. Yes, I know, hello beautiful. She doesn't get left out just because she's retired. We do everything with her that we do with the boys. She just doesn't get ridden anymore because she's done enough. She's had a good long life and a huge career. There we go, all nice and happily tacked up. So let's just show you now our best practice for mounting. So, mounting. This is one of the most important things, obviously, getting on your horse. I can speak from huge experience because I broke baby pony in. One of the hurdles that I actually had was getting in the saddle in the first place. When he was a 3-year-old, he did ditch me and I ended up quite badly injured, and then I started to have a phobia of mounting, and it took years to overcome. So I'm speaking from knowledge. I know mounting can be one of the scariest things in the world. It takes a long time to overcome when you've had a bad injury. So I'm just going to try and show you the best practices that we put in place to make sure that that doesn't happen. So first of all, as William is doing, he's tightening up the girth. Now remember, this is a treeless saddle. So even though it's good practice to use a mounting block, when you've got a treeless saddle, I would say it is essential. And not only is it essential, it's also essential to hold the stirrup at the other side so that you put weight on both, so holding as tight as I can but without putting too much weight on while William gets in the saddle. Again, the reason we do this is for the benefit of the horse, not for us. Take the reins in one hand, put your foot in the saddle, hold the saddle, and in one swift movement, over you go. Now, I've spoken about the horse's equipment. What I haven't spoken about is human equipment. I've obviously mentioned helmet. Helmet, very important. It boils my blood to see people get in the saddle that don't wear a helmet. That's if they don't know the horse or if they're doing barrel racing in America. I know everybody has their own opinion of what things are and how things can be. I just think if the safety equipment's there, use it. It's daft not to. I have ridden baby occasionally in the field where I know I've got a soft landing without a helmet, but I've known that horse for 11 years and he's very lazy, and it's very unlikely that he's going to do something drastic or I'm going to get hurt. One thing that is guaranteed of baby, who's just stood now, not going anywhere, one thing that's guaranteed is that he's going nowhere fast. So if I fall off him, it's going to be my own fault at his age now at 15. It is not going to be something that I've done or because he's taken off, because as you can see, he doesn't. He's a very, very steady Eddie. So the other safety equipment that we never ride without is boots. Both William and I wear Ariats. Ariats are kind of a crossover boot, which is a yard boot and a riding boot. They've got a nice soft sole for riding, but they've also got just enough grip to be a yard boot as well. They've got the protected toes in case anybody decides to stand on your feet. Now Madge is a foot stander on her, and trust me, if she stands on your feet, you know it. So I wear the calf length boots. William wears ankle boots. So he has these crossovers here, which are absolutely brilliant because he likes to be able to use his lower legs a bit more than what I do. Toby doesn't need as much encouragement as what baby does. So I think it's my turn to get on. Is mounting block manners, and that's because if it goes wrong mounting, there's only one way for you to go, and that is the floor. So I do absolutely insist on the horses having good mounting block manners, and we will stand there for as long as it takes until they do. Now, Toby has a bad habit of putting his head down, and just to give you a size idea, I'm 6 foot, Toby is 14.2, so there is a massive difference between his height and my height, but I am light enough for him absolutely to carry me. My weight is not an issue. So, as you're probably aware if you've been around horses, to keep the saddle safe and to keep it nice and so that you don't hit yourself with the stirrups, when you finish riding, you run them up. So before you get to the mounting block, it's nice for the horse to be ready for you to get on. That includes doing my final checks with the girth, making sure the girth flap's okay. Toby's trying to take out the mounting block because he knows that's what I have to stand on to get on, and just giving everything the once over to make sure that it is safe and as it should be to ride. Walk on. Come on, walk on. So Toby has an opinion about riding, and I must say at times it's not the same opinion I have. Now he has been good, so I'll move the mounting block where I need it because I'm old. Because William's already riding, I will hold my own stirrup down. There we go. Now I cannot stress enough, I have not been on this horse for 2 months. William has not been on baby for 2 months. This is the first time for both of them that they have been ridden, really I think since June, July. It's been a long old time since we've been on them anyway. So I'm not going to sit and tell you how to ride. I am sure that everybody knows the standards. You hold your reins with your 3 fingers under there with your thumbs on top. That is a really good way to continue and to maintain grip on the reins. My personal preference is plaited reins. Now, I was a kid in the 80s, and to have plaited reins was absolutely super special. You were like really posh if you had plaited reins. Now you've got all kinds of reins, rubber reins and all sorts, but I still absolutely love plaited reins. And when I saw these in a horsey car boot sale second hand, oh, I just had to buy them. It's a lifelong dream to own them, and they are just everything I've ever wanted for a horse. So to stop, gentle squeeze, woo! Now Toby and Baby are really, really well trained. They do not need much. They need gentle encouragement. So if I want to turn to the right here, I open my rein out a little bit. Now, I am not the world's best rider, but this works for us. I also give him a little nudge with my heel down there. I don't kick, just a little nudge. He doesn't need kicking. It's more of a conversation that I have with him. So I'd like him to go over here, so I open up this rein and I nudge him with that foot. If you were to work on a circle, we use this as our arena, which isn't ideal because it is full of obstacles at the moment because we're still in the process of doing the field out. But if you were to walk on the outskirts of the arena like this, steady boy, there is one simple rule that every single horse rider will have heard forever and will almost have it tattooed on their brain. And that is outside rein, inside leg. To keep your horse walking on the side of an arena, it is absolutely imperative that you keep that rule in mind, whichever rein you're on, left or right. Outside rein, inside leg, and that's to help push them over to where you need to be. But it's been a long time since either of us have ridden BHS, so we don't tend to do that. One of the things that we do, especially because he hasn't been ridden in so long, is we do some neck exercises, some neck stretches. And this was taught to us again by Guy Robertson, but also another super horse trainer called Lee Rutter. And that is, have the horse on the buckle and then just turn their head to you like that to help stretch this muscle here. They will not like it at first. Come on, Toby. It just helps them to be bendy. Good boy. See, he's much nicer on that rein than he is on this rein. He does have a stiff neck on this side. I don't need you, Baby, at the moment. Clash of heads. There we go. That's better. And we do little stretches while we're riding, while we're just play riding like this, just to be able to keep them really, really, really well tuned, really, and listening to us. The last thing you want is a horse that is not going to listen to you. And I want it to be just as pleasant for him as it is for me. And as you can see, he's an absolute beauty, and I adore every hair on his body. He's an absolute superstar, unless you're putting his bridle on, and then it's 50-50. Good lad. We've been walking around for a little while, and we're starting to get the hang of being under the saddle again. And so we're going to introduce something that Guy Robertson told us about and taught us about, which is going to incorporate the turning of the head with the moving of the body. For this, we're going to put our hands on the reins further down, bring the horse's head over to an arch to our knee, and then bring our hand up our leg here which is going to get the horse to turn around and face in the opposite direction. Oh, he wants to go now. Shall we not do that, thank you, until I ask? So down here, across to the knee, then squeeze like that and get him to change direction, and then instant release. Good boy, good boy. So you're incorporating the stretches with a change of the body there. So again, down the rein, to the knee, up, bring your hand up slowly and change direction. See, it's taking him no time at all to be able to do that. He's an absolute superstar. Now, because we've not ridden for a while, we're not going to do too much today. We're just going to walk around. I'm not even going to trot him. I'm just going to get him used to listening to me again. I want him to believe every time that we finish a session, it is on a really good, positive note. And so next time, oh, I think there's going to be a clash there. Next time, he absolutely wants to be ridden, and he understands that we're not going to ask too much of him. But if we do ask something of him, he's going to enjoy it just as much as we are. In this video, I'm going to show you an ideal dismount. Now, as a kid, I used to get this completely wrong, and I probably got detached from my horse more times than I care to think about because of how I used to do it. So to dismount, I would always go towards the gate over here. Not in this particular field, because we didn't have this field then, but I would go to the gate and get off because that was the job done. Unfortunately, what that does is it gives your horse a sense of comfort around the gate, and it can make them nap when they get to the gate because they know that as soon as they get there, it's game over and they don't have to work anymore. So again, what we were told by Guy Robertson, who is an absolute legend in the horse field, is that if you end your lesson in the middle of the arena, they will always stay in the arena because they don't know that the gate is comfort. So to dismount, it is simple. You take all pressure off the bit. You stand on the buckle. If you need somebody to hold your horse for you, do. This is the English way, by the way. Western is completely different. Take your feet out of the stirrups. Don't you, Toby? Take your feet out. Lean forward, swing a leg over and dismount. Good boy. Good boy. Who's been clever? So from Toby and Madge and William and Baby and myself, thank you so much for watching. We really love our YouTube channel. We do it as a diarised documentary of what we do in our life and all of the things that we love, all of the travelling, all of the adventures and everything that we get up to. We're going to start featuring the horses more. It's a little bit easier now. A few months have passed between now and us having to have Windy put to sleep. So we are going to be out and about with the horses a lot more now than what we have been all summer. If you like our content or you just want to see more, please hit like and subscribe. We upload every Thursday at 4 o'clock UK time or sooner. Thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next week. Bye bye. Good boy, Toby. That was wonderful, wasn't it? Such a good boy after so long. Here we go. Let's get this tack off. Good lad. Always stands so quietly at the end of a ride, even when it's only been 20 minutes. Don't you? Hmm? Good lad. Here we go. Throat lash. We twisted the reins up so that while you were stood, nothing happened. Buckle, headband, gently over the ears, and let go. Good boy. Good boy. Oh, I am proud of him. It's not often that he's as carefree as that, but maybe now he's another year older and he's 13. He's starting to calm down. Good boy. What a perfect face to end on. Good lad.